One more question. You talked today about, in many workshops, about the power and benefit to yourself of being in alignment, being tuned in, turned on, tapped in, and how that can be of benefit to other people.
So in the same way that you go into that environment and there's some momentum going and there's some latent momentum within you about it, so it's not a shock that this is where you are. What about the recognition that there is also latent momentum within you that matches this high-flying, pure positive energy vibration of your source? What about consciously recognizing that as you take more opportunities to focus there, that you can tap into that powerful energy that creates worlds? Surely you can feel the difference in the sensation within you when you are feeling appreciation and when you are feeling criticism. Can't you feel momentum in appreciation that just is not there in criticism?
Oh, yeah.
So as you're continually reminding yourself that you have access to that power that you're wanting to use, access to that leverage, and then you're taking note when you are utilizing it. So does it sound like what we're saying is just watch how things are playing out and then acknowledge, well, this is a result of my latent vibrational momentum that is unwanted, or this is a result of my latent vibrational momentum that is wanted. Yes?
Yeah. So I want to understand, though, the way the law of attraction works.
Yeah.
How does the mechanism of me or anyone just being in this high-flying place, higher place, help people in the world or uplift people in the world to know their own empowerment? And I'm not going to know who these people are or speak to them. You know, I'm just being who I am. But how does the mechanism of that contribute to others?
In the sense that you teach through the clarity of your example, and in the sense that when you are in alignment and you are holding someone as your object of attention, you have the opportunity to uplift them rather than what your hair-cutting friend did to you in downlifting you. In other words, she took you down in what she was doing. You have the ability to take anyone down or take anyone up. And we're not giving this to you because it's your responsibility, because everyone is a co-creative partner in this. But when you engage in momentum that is not who you are, you just don't feel good.
Yeah. So from the high-flying places or the higher disc places, I love this disc analogy. It reminds me of that doodle jump game. You know, and I'm on these little disc clouds jumping. Any focus that I might do or a person might do from that perspective helps a situation, even though you may not be involved in that situation.
You just
in the world.
have to know that it does, because as you thrive, you add to the vibration of thriving. Yeah. And more people have the opportunity to find themselves in the vicinity of that. You're like a satellite dish that's beaming the energy closer and making it more possible or probable that they might have a glimpse of it. And if that glimpse comes with your added affirmation of what it is that they're experiencing, then maybe they can deliberately jump into that. Yeah. Don't you feel more hands-on about your own life than you did just a few days ago? Yes. Doesn't the analogy of laying new pipes make you want to be, doesn't it make you feel easier about not trying to fix things that are broken?
Yes.
We can't convince you of how you want to feel. We just know that within you is a resonance of how you want to feel. And when you touch that resonance and you feel that elation that comes only from that resonance, then there is some cognitive association with that feeling good. This is the thing that is the most interesting to us about all of this discussion, not just now, but all of the discussion that we have all of the time with all of you. It's interesting to us that your patterns of thought about the way you feel have, we love you so much, devolved to the point that most people are not demanding of feeling good. You're tolerant of not feeling good. And that's the part that is so interesting to us, that when you touch this frequency of who you are and you feel that clarity, and we can see how you would be willing to dip from clarity and passion into love and contentment. But we cannot see how you would be willing to move from passion and enthusiasm to boredom or despair. Those dips are just so not like who you are. And the answer in it, we do understand it. You've just practiced it so they feel normal. So there is a certain resonance that feels familiar. So in these hours, we are wanting to help you to focus so that you're reaching for the true familiarity of your true knowing.
Yes, yes.
So that it sort of awakens it. And then people say, well, Abraham, is it normal for all hell to break loose in someone's life when they begin doing this work? And we say, yes, because you become pickier. You become less willing to endure those conversations. And you don't become rude. You don't just turn on your heels and walk away from people. You don't roll your eyes at them when they're on a negative conversation. But you are less engaging. You make it less and less interesting to them all along to engage you. Until in time, you are engaged primarily by those who are seeing the world through the eyes of Source, which is the way you intended to see it, you see.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay. Two-part question. First part of the question is, you've taught us for some time about molecular or cellular intelligence, about how our bodies are comprised of many different cells, all of which are intelligent, seeking equilibrium or alignment. I was willing to leave it at that. But in the last few days, you've been talking about intelligence and focus on this molecular level, atoms, lifetimes within lifetimes. Now, we know that science has recently discovered that the smallest quantum particles are strands of vibration. So that's...
We're so pleased about that.
Yes. Remarkable.
Yeah.
And so that's getting very specific.
Yeah.
It's getting very small.
Strands of vibration that are sort of learning how to control themselves.
Right. And adjust and align.
Yeah.
So now, that's on a very small scale. So as we pull back, we become more general. Things appear to become physical. Right? And we pull back a little bit further, and we come to the earth, which appears to be physical. And
well, it's all physical.
Right.
It's just longer focus and therefore more momentum.
Exactly.
It's the momentum factor that you're introducing to this subject.
Okay, so now as we become more general, we see the earth, we see the organic film of life on earth. We pull back a little bit further and we see what appears to be a solar system. Planets spinning around, and we've got the asteroids and all this stuff flying around without my help, which I really appreciate.
Without your conscious help from this perspective.
Exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So then we continue to pull further back, and we see that there's the sun, and pull further back, and then there's, just say, 100 billion suns, just for round numbers, right? And that's a galaxy. Great. That's getting pretty general. Scale's getting out there in intelligence and in purpose.
General, and yet really long time focus and lots of momentum and incredible stability.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then we go further back, right? We get more general, and we see not a galaxy of 100 billion suns, we see 100 billion galaxies gathered together by the law of attraction into what science calls a galactic cluster, right? So we've got all sorts of contrast, billions of suns, planets, comets, asteroids, all this stuff. We pull back further and we see that these galactic clusters are connected through what is known as the universe by some sort of fiber. It looks like a fiber or a fiber structure of some sort. Pull back a little bit further. Science says it looks like a gigantic sponge of light, okay? Comprised of galaxies, galactic clusters, obviously enormous intelligence involved, obviously great purpose involved, right? So that's a little bit too big of a scale. So I'm going to come back a little bit more practical, come back to Earth. Okay, Earth is something we can pretty much get our arms around, we can understand it. It's on a scale that we can see, we can verify. So, but on this planet Earth, there's a couple of tricks. And I figured while I was here, I'd make a side trip or two. One of them was to go to Egypt. This is just an example. I've had a lot of questions about what's known as the Great Pyramid. This is just an example. So I go and I study the Great Pyramid, I do all this information about it. I come away believing that the Great Pyramid is a microwave generator that was in use for
Yeah.
thousands of years
Yeah.
before the Great Flood.
Yeah.
All right. Tremendous focus,
Right.
off-planet, intergalactic focus on something in our past, that for which now we have little understanding, very little use, little point of reference, but there it is. And it confronts one. It becomes a part of this consciousness now. So another example, okay, so let's say that's 20,000 years ago on this planet. Fast forward to maybe 1,500 years BC. Still in Egypt, by the way. These Egyptians have accumulated a science, this is just another example, of the sun. They're fascinated by it. The rotation of the sun has a warp on it. The equator has a warp on it. It has all of these various magnetic influences that affect the planet directly. Egyptians were very aware of this a long time ago. They were aware of it inasmuch as they could represent it in something as wonderful as royal jewelry. So in all of this fabulous royal jewelry is how the sun works. Great sophistication. That they chose to encode it into jewelry shows a cultural and a, shall we say, an emotional sophistication.
And acceptance.
That again, we have not arrived at in this present time. So now we're on the planet, we can just go take a look at South America. Okay, again, gigantic structures, impossible to duplicate in this time. We have no understanding of why they're there. But the fact is they're there and they confront us. Pre-flood, however old it is, there they are. Tremendous focus and intelligence, again, that's lost to us now. Right? So then let's bring it back to present time. Here we are on this earth. Well, now we're confronted by these UFO things flying around out here. What is all of this? Obviously, something of great intelligence, great purpose, and great focus that, again, exceeds our comprehension as it stands. Now, the possibility is that it is only my attention to this that is creating it. And the other possibility is that I don't understand how this is the leading edge.
Because with all of that intelligence that is out there, there is nothing that can be asserted into your experience. There has to be a combining, cooperative, participating, asking, and allowing. You describe the different cultures that somehow, some way found themselves in that place of allowing that knowledge. So what you're describing is that through all of this that is being lived, that there is desire, in other words, non-physical is becoming more. And we've been talking in the hours that we've been together that non-physical is flowing forward with you, but you have to be the translator of it. In other words, that's where inventions come from. That's where mathematical equations come from. But nothing can be asserted into your experience. Source can hold all of the knowing, but until humans are in a place of allowing the knowledge in a way that the momentum can carry them into something that is meaningful, it does not happen.
Okay, so do I correctly interpret what you're saying is the more allowing that I have, the more all of this will fall into place, into a perspective?
Yes, and the less you care about how many others are up to speed with you, the more likely you will find that place of allowing, which will allow you to discover something that then will, what were the words you kept offering? It's in your face, it's there to be, it's
Confronts one.
hard to ignore.
Yes.
When momentum becomes tangible.
And it's also, as you mentioned, a solitary experience.
Usually works better that way.